got the Eagles this week. And meantime, Terps aren't playing this week. We got a few Wizards games, and you guys know I'm glued to the Capitals, and the Capitals are in a nice little run right now, not just of winning hockey games, but playing every other night. And Ed Frankovic on the scene for us today to discuss all things victory yet again. Ed, as bad as this thing looked in Toronto a couple of weeks ago and some other of the efforts where they played 3 or 4 not-so-good games, teams rounding into form here during the holidays, correct?
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row, but you really have to be pleased with the way they've played the last 3. And the Buffalo game on Friday up there, home against the Canucks on Sunday, and then after a shaky first period in Brooklyn on Tuesday night, really, really liked the Capitals' second period, and that translated into a big third. And they won 2 of 3 on the road, 2 really strong road games. They're on the road. They'll go to Carolina on Friday night, but 5 in a row. Everybody in the division keeps winning. Columbus has won 7 in a row, although the Blackhawks did the Capitals a little bit of a favor with the win over the Rangers last night at MSG. So you've got 5 teams in the Metro within 2 points of each other again.
Well, that's going to go. Dude, that's not going to change, right? I mean, first week of February, we're going to be on the phone. We're going to say, you got 5 teams that are 4 points apart or, a weekend away. I think that's what these teams are. I don't think there's any super team, although I do think the Canadians have that possibility with, given their schedule and given their goalie. And, they're one of those teams that can go a couple of weeks without losing. I think the Capitals are one of those teams. They're starting to play more like that. Look, the Tuesday night effort, obviously not the best first period at 1-1. I watched the end of the first and parts of the second, and then quite frankly, from my long night in Foxborough, I petered out on it to wake up to find out that they had a hell of a third period. But more than that, you look down at the scoring in the game. No Ovechkin, no Oshie, no Kuznetsov, no Backstrom, and they win going away in a road game on a cold night. That's a really good sign, right?
Yes. They got great efforts from the bottom 6. And, no Ovechkin, and actually I thought his line was probably the weakest of the 4. Now, Kuznetsov did get a couple of helpers, and he made a great play on the power play. His 2 helpers came, I believe, on the power play. But the first goal was just the Lars Eller line. They took Burakovsky out of the lineup. You and I have been talking about how bad he's been playing for weeks. They finally put Brett Connolly in, who I've been writing about it. WNST.net. Let's put this guy in. He forechecks. He's physical. He goes to the net. And sure enough, that first goal after the trailing 1-0, they played kind of a perimeter first period. Connolly goes to the net, puts a stick on the ice, and Eller puts it right on the doorstep, and he lifts it over Halak. And Halak had shut the Caps out for 4 straight periods. And the thing I really liked about those 4 goals last night is everybody went to the net. And I know Oshie didn't have a point, but 2 of those goals, number 77's right in front of the net. And actually, the game-winning goal, if Niskanen doesn't dig it out of the corner, then that puck never gets to Niskanen. So I love the way Oshie plays. I know you and I talk about it every time. He's easily the most aggressive player, and I guess he's the player that matters the most. Most significant player, I would say.
He's the guy I would buy the jersey. I always loved Mike Ridley's game back in the day and Kelly Miller when they made those deals. You have favorite players or guys you love. I love Jay Beagle's game, but that's more of a scrappy game. Oshie would be the kind of guy that that would be the jersey I would buy on the team. I love watching TJ Oshie. But one of the great pickups, and we've talked so much about how good the team is. We don't heap a whole lot of praise on the front office, maybe the way we ought to be able to assemble a team like that. That part of it, from George McPhee straight on through, for all the good and the bad, they're a very, very competitive team. We talk about the Ravens and expectations. Eddie, all week long, I've been talking to some of your brethren up there in Philadelphia, about the Eagles and the Flyers and their sports malaise that they're in right now. It's not easy to be the Philadelphia Flyers from 1972 till 2005, right, where you're just so relevant all the time and the way the Ravens have been relevant. Boy, the Caps are there as well, and it's because of choosing wisely, picking TJ Oshie instead of someone else, allowing Mike Green to disappear, and it feels like you didn't even miss him at all, picking up Orpik and Niskanen at the right time. This has been a nice collection, as well as drafting and the maturation of Holtby and, the Ovechkins and the Backstroms that you really take for granted, the way we took Ray Lewis and John Ogden and Ed Reed around here for granted, until they're gone. But this is a pretty glorious time. It's a 5-game winning streak. We've waited to see this team come to life a little bit, and I think they are. And they're obviously very well coached under Barry Trotz.
Reminds me a lot of the Ravens as they went through some of those years in 2010, 2011, where the expectations were so high, and they were right there, and they were so close. We all remember the drop in the end zone, and then the Cundiff miss. And
I remembered it a lot the other night. I walked up to Flacco after the game in the locker room in Foxborough, and I said, "Hey, man, I've had better nights than this in here." He said, "Yeah, man, me too, bro." And I said, "But I've also had some bad ones in here," and he smiled, because that place – It holds all of that on Monday night. It's a heavy place, I think, for me at least, and I didn't spend a lot of time there Monday. I got in and got the hell out. But, sitting in the same seat you were sitting in when you were going to the Super Bowl and then watching Cundiff miss, the Capitals are the same thing. I remember sitting in Silver Spring Mining when, they lost to the Penguins a number of years ago and the Rangers. And, you have those moments of, disappointment. And there's never been that moment as a Caps fan where you're like, we finally won what the Cubs have had, what Cleveland had, And I think everybody's sort of holding on for that and realizing that this team's good enough, but nothing happens until May, right?
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't. And, they have a team, and let's talk about Brian McClellan, the job he's done. George McPhee certainly did some very good things with his drafting. I think if there's a big criticism of George, it was his inability to build a defense, and it was his inability to make the big move or make the wrong move in the case of the Martin Erat trade. Brian McClellan came in here. He and Barry definitely linked up and got on the same page very, very quickly. They rebuilt the defense. Then they went out and they need to rebuild the offense with the Oshie and the Williams. And he's made, he added some pieces in the summer with Lars Eller and Brett Connolly, and they've been slow to come around. And I think part of I've enjoyed what Connolly has done. I just don't think he's gotten enough playing time. He's only played 16 games. Eller has been his best asset so far. Has been on the penalty kill. The Capitals' penalty kill has been stellar, and he's starting to come out of it a little bit. He's finally starting to skate. He's starting to put his nose in some places where you need to be, and I think that's been the message after that team meeting on Wednesday. Is look, we can't keep playing on the perimeter. We've got to get to that front of the net. You're not going to beat these goalies in this league by just shooting from the edges. And all 4 goals, again, I'll say that all 4 goals, there was a guy in front of the net. Justin Williams' goal, it just hit him on the way in. Verona shot it. We all thought it was his goal for most of the game until they said, oh, it hit Williams on the way in. Well, who cares? That's how you score. That's how you're going to beat these goalies. And I like what the team McClellan's put together. I think maybe they might need another defenseman at the deadline to really put this team over the edge, especially, like you said, these standings are going to be like this the rest of the year. These 5 teams are going to be there. I don't see any of them going away. These 5 will make the playoffs. It's a matter of who ends up crossing over and having to go in the Atlantic, and you can make the case that's a good thing or a bad thing, depending on if you want to play Carey Price in the first round.
Hey, but I'll say this. There has been some separation from the top to the bottom, right? I mean, the top 8 have emerged, and the bottom 8 are really starting to slide. The Islanders, if they're 12 points out now, it's not even Christmas time, right? I mean, the Sabres, the Maple Leafs, the teams that we thought would be bad, they haven't been bad. They're all 500 teams, but they're not going to be able to play 600 hockey the rest of the way.
You just can't make those points up, Ness. You're absolutely right. 9 points down. The Islanders are 12 down on the Flyers. They have 3 games in hand, but I just don't see it happening. It's just too hard to make up points. They've done so many studies that the teams in position at Thanksgiving, you maybe get one out every other year. So I think these 8 teams are going to be it. Well, I think Tampa could still climb up and knock out one of maybe Ottawa in the Atlantic, but the other 7 teams, they're all going to be in the playoffs, and it's just a matter of seeding. It's going to be who's healthy. Much like football, you have to be healthy. And last year, the Capitals got the injury to Alzner. They had the Orpik injury after the suspension, and they just weren't healthy. And then we find out in the summer that Holtby had a bad knee. So I think everything Coach Trotz is doing this year, and McClellan, They're trying to ratchet the guys back. You go down and you look at that sheet last night on ice time, Ovechkin played 16 minutes. He had 4 hits. He had 2 shots on net. Didn't factor in the scoring. But that 16 minutes, boy, come April, May, he's going to be able to play that 2021 when you really need him going. You may not have to worry about a bad back or a groin like we did last year.
He is Ed Frankovic. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Ed Frankovic, as well as on game nights at WNST, as we round out the week talking all things Capitals here. Caps on a 5-game bender right now with wins over Buffalo, Boston, Buffalo, Vancouver, and the Islanders. They head to Raleigh on Friday night to take on the Carolina Hurricanes, and then Saturday night the Canadiens in the nation's capital. Ed, there is a rumor. There's a rumor that I'm going to be spending Saturday evening down at the phone booth. I'm looking forward to it. I almost got to the Canucks game on Sunday, and my wife wasn't feeling it. It was an early game, and I thought we'd stick it in there. As it turned out, it worked out great with all the things going on with London this week and Foxborough. But I am looking forward to getting back down there. Canadians on Saturday. That's going to be an interesting test, right? That's when you ratchet it up another notch, right? And they're going to be a little tired after some dead legs on Friday night.
For sure, they're going to need the home crowd, and I think it will be rocking. And it is going to be a test. They are going to look forward to playing Carey Price and the Canadians. It's on Hockey Night in Canada, so it'll be broadcast all across the Great White North, and your pal Geddy Lee will be watching.
Well, actually, Alex Lifeson's the Montreal Canadiens fan.
Oh, there you go. That's right. Geddy's a Leafs.
Geddy does baseball. Geddy does Blue Jays, yeah.
But they Capitals, remember the last time they were on Hockey Night in Canada was in Toronto, and they pretty much laid an egg. So, and Holtby was not happy after that game, and he got into the guys pretty well. They have to go down and play a Carolina team on Friday night first to put up 8 goals against the Canucks on Tuesday night. The Carolina Hurricanes, they're near the bottom of the standings, but they've got some speed. They beat the Caps 5-1 last time they were down there, so they got to keep their eye on that first, and then let's take on the Canadians on Saturday, and it should be a dandy.
All right, man. We got hockey all week long, and I'll be watching. We'll be talking about it as well. It's Friday night in Raleigh, Saturday down at the phone booth. Ed, take care, man. We got hockey weather coming here this weekend, right? And I'm sure it'll be a brisk 19 degrees when I leave the phone booth on Saturday night. So, feel the freeze. It's hockey season, and the Caps are playing well right now. It's a good time.
Yeah, there's some outdoor rinks. There's the one down there in Baltimore, and I know they got one over there by Merriweather in Columbia. So put on the skates.
I have promised my wife. Listen, my wife looks at that rink all the time and wants to go skate there. So I've promised her. I've said, here's my qualification on skating at the outdoor rink: no wind. That's my only deal. Doesn't need to be sunny, although sun's nice, but just no wind. I'll take a 42-degree, 5-mile-an-hour less windy day, and I'll go skate outside. But otherwise, I'm Venezuelan, Ed. I'm a wuss.
Well, yeah, no wind is a good rule. And by the way, the hockey community lost a tough one there on Tuesday night. Alan Thicke, boy, talking about a guy who promoted the game. It was sad to see him pass at 69. It's hard to end on a little bit of a down note. But,
I don't know that there's any other celebrity who was more associated with hockey, right? Like someone that's not a hockey guy. It's one thing you say Gordie Howe or okay, fine, but somebody that's not a hockey guy that would be associated with hockey upon his death. I can't think of anybody more hockey than Alan Thicke in the Hollywood set, right?
Yeah, I'd put Thicke number 1 and maybe Michael J. Fox number 2.
Well, Canadian guys, right?
Yep, you got it.
See you later, man.
Take care, Ness.
You got it. Ed Frankovic. He is Ed at WNST.net if you want to talk some hockey with him. He's also out on Facebook and Twitter at Ed Frankovic. You can find me in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from wherever you are. I actually had an email from a guy the other day. I thought he's been a smart aleck because it's my 25th anniversary saying, I didn't know you were still on the radio. Okay, I'm still on the radio too, AM 1570. If you're listening, if you're not, you should be. You can be anytime, anywhere. If you want a more intelligent version of sports radio, we feel like we're the place for that. Speaking of that, Tuesday night, Adams Jeep in Aberdeen. We're going to be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry, and for there goes my hero, Mike Wallace, wide receiver from the Baltimore Ravens. Looking forward to coming out, We haven't had him out this year. I haven't had a long conversation with him. Plenty of stuff to discuss with him. He doesn't know that I've got like a little Ole Miss thing going on, so it's going to be fun. We'll do a little hotty-toddy for the holidays on Tuesday the 20th at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen. Bring out some young people. We need to get some spit. I got my Give a Spit shirt on right now. And, of course, if you buy anything during the holidays using the giveaspit.com website and the app, whether it's Amazon, any of that sort of shopping, a portion of that goes to our friends at There Goes My Hero, so we do appreciate that as well. Dennis will be here on Thursday driving you home from 3 until 5 as he always does. And all of our WNST texts are brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Get on the text service. You get the breaking news. When Dan Duquette makes that big deal we've all dreamed about him making, you'll get it first to the WNST text service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I'm Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me day or night, 24 hours a day, about London or anything else. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.